this and that. There's leatherwork and artistry, jewelry and cosplay, unapologetically themselves and coming your way. Yeah, Wolf at the Podcast is here for you today. Hey!
Good morning and afternoon and evening, wherever you may be. Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Wolf at the Podcast. I am your host, Cowboy, also known as Wolf Daddy. Yeah, I got a new shirt. It is official. I got a shirt with it on. So, today we have a really awesome guest. I'm very excited to have him on. It is Big Cat Den Crafts. I always mess that up. I'm so sorry. But Big Cat is a really awesome dude. He's a fantastic leather worker, a fantastic streamer, just like, wholesome dude that makes, fucking bondage gear. Along with many other things, but like his collars and cuffs are fucking mint. So, everybody, I would love for you to give a warm welcome to Big Cat. Hello, Big Cat. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Trying to stay motivated is a bitch.
Very
But
true.
Other than that, I'm doing all right. This week was a little bit rough. But it is what it is. It happens. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just went. Oh my gosh, Discord, shut up. I thought I turned off the notifications, but I guess I didn't. Doing pretty good. This Friday went out with our friend Bad Mood and went out leather shopping and spent way too much money, but hopefully it will pay off in its own way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it all and I'm crying at how much it spent, but
It's so easy to do it, makers. It's so easy to
it
spend
really
too much
is.
money. So, to start us off, why don't you give a quick introduction of who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there, man.
All right, sounds good. Sounds. Oh my gosh. Okay. Discord needs to shut up. Okay, so what I do, my name is Big Cat. I also stream here on Twitch. I predominantly work on leather goods such as collars, cuffs, bracelets, and sketchbooks. I do plan on expanding out from there. For those interested in the more like the kink gear and the kink community and that kind of stuff, I do actually plan on doing harnesses at some point. I'm looking into possibly getting into armor and or even doing chessboards, because I tried that out once and it's really enjoyable.
I remember that chessboard. That thing turned out fucking amazingly.
Yeah, it's still on the shelf. It's not completely done. I'm still waiting for the day that I decide that it's time to glue the wood together and actually, tack it together. But when that day comes, it's gonna be nice.
Hell yeah, dude. That sounds awesome. I know you've been kind of doing a little bit of branching out and stuff, so it's really exciting to see where you're going to go and what new stuff you're going to come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I started out with just wanting to, like, my main inspiration was seeing in the because I'm part of the fur fandom. I've been in it for about 10 years now, and looking at what was available at the time, like there's nothing wrong with the more like standard look of like collars and cuffs and that kind of stuff, but I felt there was a gap in the more personalized, more ornate pieces out there. Like just doing like a quick search online and such, I wasn't really seeing much of anything that was very personal, like super personalized or super intricate, and I wanted to fill a gap on that. Whereas yes, my pieces can be used for more they can be used for activities, but they're also that they're stylized enough that you could consider them more casual wear as well. That you can just like have on while you're at the house or with close friends or
You know,
whoever.
whatever your comfort level is on, you know, on where you or where and when you wear them.
Yeah. Um, Another part is why I wanted to get into it was because that in the furry fandom, I mean, collar like everyone has their persona, and so collars being animal accessories are very prominent in the community.
Yes.
And so like you like someone could wear them at like, you go to a fur con, a fur convention, and you see people wearing this stuff, and it's so nonchalant and casual
Hmm.
that no one even blinks an eye because who cares? It's another accessory. It's like it's a bracelet for the neck.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Especially, you know, and the cool thing about yours is, like, you know, especially someone wearing them on a fursuit, like it can be very easily worn on a fursuit, and just add that next level or layer of, you know, personality to it.
Yeah, I actually do. I haven't made one yet for fursuits, but it is in the plans. I've got to figure out what a like average size would be for that,
Hmm.
due to like my normal measurements are for the human neck versus adding on the
Yeah.
extra layer of fur. Um, you gotta add extra to the material itself. So
Yeah.
I'm still working out the measurements on that, but hopefully this year or next year I'll be able to start actually producing those pieces.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So to kind of kick things off,
All
how
right.
did you get started? Like, you know, you were talking about like filling a gap um, with the fur community, but before this, you actually mentioned that you had kind of done it in like Boy Scouts
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, you know, let's go in the direction of like your like real first introduction to leather.
All right. Well, back in middle school, God help me on those years. Huh. Um, I I mean, obviously, I was in, as you said, I was in Boy Scouts. Made it to Star. Woo. Um, During one summer, we had like some like a summer day camp, and they were offering a leather working, leather crafting class on one of the deals. So I decided to take it. Um, I feel absolutely sorry for the cow who ended up underneath my stamp tools because I destroyed that leather, and there's a reason it probably does not exist anymore. I don't know where it is.
Probably
Um,
disintegrated from
it probably just
oversaturation.
yeah, I that leather ended up basically paste. It was disgustingly soaked with water, and the tooling was atrocious. And after that day, I kind of like vowed to myself, I'm never touching this again. I don't have the skill for this. Fast forward into the end of high school and in during college years, I went to my local community college for culinary, and ended up doing that industry for about 8 years or so. And during the time, my life was pretty much wake up in the afternoon, go to work, come home, get cleaned up, eat, be on the computer until about 4 o'clock in the morning, go to bed. And it was this way for months and months and months and months that I kind of fell into a rut that when it came to hanging out with friends and such, or and even just in general for like a personal evaluation, I didn't have anything I was doing other than playing Minecraft and listening to music. So I decided pick up a hobby, and upon trying to figure out what I wanted to do, for some reason the idea of let's try leather crafting came to mind. I'm just like, sure, screw it, and started watching YouTube videos on how to do stuff. And 5-ish years later, here I am. Um, like it started out really slow in that was living off. I not really living off of it, but I was working with a line cook's pay
Yep.
to afford these tools and such while still living.
Yep.
Luckily, I was still living with my parents at the time, so I was still able to save up for certain items and materials, but it still took a bit, especially for not really knowing what all I wanted to do right off the get-go. Um, Started out with bracelets. This one right here was actually the first bracelet that I had ever done. Ooh, let's get there, center.
There
And
you
it's
go.
just it's a Tandy template, um, hand punched, sewn, dyed. But I mean,
We all started
this is what
somewhere.
started it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what started it.
And
Um,
in your filigree work now, because you punch, you don't cut like
Oh,
normal filigree.
yeah.
Hey, Peaches, what's going on, my dude? What's up,
Peaches.
Sauce? um, dude, that was you want to talk about like fun conversator? Fucking Peaches is awesome. I fucking love talking with Peaches.
yeah, got to meet him on Friday actually.
Yep.
So that was really cool.
But back to your, you do like this really ornate filigree punching. Essentially, you take different shaped punches and do filigree work with it, and it's just beautiful, dude. Like, you have such a awesome eye for the filigree work. I
Thank
love
you.
seeing it too. Like, and I've gotten to hold it before too at Bad Moods.
Party
Birthday
around this
party.
time last year.
Yeah, the first time we met. That was the first time we met in person. Actually, met ever.
Yeah.
Cause I met a lot of streamers that that night, and that was a whole lot of fun. And I got you brought some of your stuff because you were working on it. And
Yeah, I was actually working on the orange collar that you see here.
Yep.
I was working on sewing that together.
Yeah, and like I just remember looking at it going like, son of a bitch. Just going like, God damn, this is so fucking cool.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and but it shows, like, you put that work in, you put that like patience into doing it, and you just can't help but be amazed at the product that you produce. And but yeah, dude, like, I freaking love getting to see your work. Speaking of, like, tell us how you got started on Twitch. I actually don't
On-
know that.
I actually, year and a half ago, I joined there. Like, when it comes again back to the furry community, I joined in on a furry small business group chat on Telegram. For those of y'all who don't know, Telegram is a instant messaging system. Um, and it's pretty much just talking amongst makers and crafters and creators, artists, on like tips and tricks of the business, trying to figure out like how to do taxes, what works this way, what kind of advertising, what are people's opinions on like my TOS, that like this version of a product versus that version. I mean, it's all very professional. It's a incredible amount of information. I've learned so much from it. And someone at the time had brought up the topic about streaming, and like how it could be useful, where's some good places to stream. Most of the furry community streams to Picarto, which is another art website, another art live streaming website. And that's a pretty standard place to go to. And then someone also brought up a link discussing using Twitch as a platform instead as well. And I thought that was interesting because it's like, Twitch is only for games. What is this about crafting? Are they accepting that now? And so I gave it a bit of a look, and I skimmed through it. And about a year and a half ago, I mean, Twitch was only just releasing or making it available for like artists and makers and crafters to stream their work on the site versus just gaming streams. And that at that time, and still technically a bit right now. It's prime time to make a channel and get yourself out there, because there's not as much competition, if you want to call it that way. There's not as big of a community to compete for viewers at the moment,
And
and
yeah, and
it's a good way to get your base.
something I've talked with other folks before too, especially like people that are interested in getting in streaming and like asking like, hey, should I do it and stuff. I'm like, especially in the leatherworking community, like the cool thing about the streaming on Twitch with the leatherworking community is they're all supportive. I have not met a single person on Twitch who does leatherwork that did not support and like be helpful towards others doing the same thing. Like, you look at like Bad Mood, you look at yourself. I mean, I know like I encourage people to stream, and it's really cool that the makers and crafters side of Twitch is actually a very supportive community, and it's not
Oh, absolutely.
we really don't really consider it competition. We consider it like,
Yeah.
no, go check. I'm constantly like, people, when you come in, I'm like, yo, check out Big Cat. He streams too. He's awesome. Go follow him. Go support Big Cat. And like, I mean, that I've everybody's been like that, and compared to like, some of the gaming streamers where it's extremely competitive. You are being competitive to get those viewers, compared to
Yeah.
makers and crafters, which we're basically supporting each other. We're building that community, which is, I think, it's fucking fantastic.
I wholeheartedly agree. Um, it's like my introduction to everyone else in the leather community here on Twitch was through our friend Bjorn Workshop,
Yeah.
and I think it was my first stream, and I was still trying to figure out how to get certain like technical stuff going on, because I was having some issues, and at the time I wasn't even using a mic, I wasn't using a face cam or anything like that. Um, I just had camera straight down on my work, and he comes in with a raid. Like maybe like the first, like I said, maybe the first or second stream I'd ever done. I'm freaking out inside, trying to keep my cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, I'm part of it. Part of the leather community is here on Twitch. There's actually quite a few of us. Um, let me help you out. And he introduced me to Bad Mood. He introduced me to Pax and to Cave and Peeper and all them. And it's wonderful. Like you said, it's not a competition to get viewers. It's a community who supports each other.
Yeah.
Granted, I say that I talked about the articles talking mentioning how to get started right now, so you don't have to compete for viewers. I think it's still that article was written with the mindset of video game
Yeah.
streamers, and that you're trying to like you've got this big streamer versus that big streamer doing the same game. You've got they've got their own personal communities that don't really mix, unless the people who are watching are casually watching versus being competitive.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there's nothing really to compete against, because everyone's supporting each other and helping them out with their craft, and we've all got our own stuff to make,
Yeah.
our own projects.
Like like when you go in between all the leather crafters, everybody kind of has their own thing. Like they're their own unique entity.
Yep.
And I mean, Peach has posted in chat like, gamers are all competing in one game. Leather crafting people all have different focuses, different avenues, and that's absolutely true. Now, don't get me wrong, there are points where like they cross, like when you're making a wallet, like Bad Moon makes wallets, I make wallets. When you cross into armor making, you have all those folks.
Yeah.
Though like Cave is in his own little fucking world over here. because
Yeah,
you know
Cave's got his own
he,
niche and then some.
he's got his corner, and I mean his stuff is fucking phenomenal. Fucking love going into his chat and seeing what he does. I'm not gonna lie, like when I first started streaming, we would actually go raid him more often because he was watching the Highlander TV series.
Oh yeah.
And we would raid him so I could catch up on Highlander. Which, you know, that was just a running joke, but like more times than not, I would actually stop and stay a little bit to watch Highlander with him. But like that's the fun part too, is the raids. Like there's so many amazing artists out there, and that's one way to connect and build more communities is through raiding. Like you know, you've raided me. I'm pretty sure I've raided you at some point. And you know, Cave is introduced. Bad Mood has come in. And, like I've met some really awesome people like through raids. Mars is a great example. Mars.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, I've gotten to, you know, we have so many people in each stream that, you know, go and watch everybody, and it's, you know, like it's this community, and it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, because we can just bounce ideas off each other and not have to worry about things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you did this for this wallet, or oh, you did this for this project. Oh shit, I'm gonna try that next time, and maybe
Yeah.
tweak it again and be like, hey, this is how this turned out. And it's like, oh crap, now I gotta do that too.
That, or if you're, you know, you're like, hey, okay, I'm gonna try to tackle this project, and you're like, oh shoot, I'm not sure how to do it this way. Wait, I can reach out to Big Cat. Big Cat has done this before. He can maybe give me a direction of what I need to do, and that's also the fun part about the community is, you know, no one is going to turn you down. At least I haven't come across anybody that's going to turn you down of like, hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh yeah, but to kind of like further on, like not turning down. It's a moment of we're streaming our work anyways. We're showing like what Peaches says. Twitch people do great at showing their technique.
Yeah.
We're laying everything out right in front of everyone. There's really no way.
There's
that
no
someone,
secret. There's no hiding it. It's right there.
no hide- yeah, you can't hide a technique unless you're doing it off camera, and I mean, there's no point in trying to there's no point in trying to like
Gatekeep. Yeah.
gatekeep. Yeah, thank you. Gatekeep that kind of stuff, because I mean, our viewers are people who they have an interest in the making of the pieces themselves, and there are plenty of them that also get into it due to our showing of our craft. Mars is an example of that. I know that they were watching for a bit, and now they're doing work as well.
Yeah.
And they're improving so much.
Yeah, he's sent me a few of his work, and I mean, just from from us starting to talk to each other to now, like he's sending me work, and I'm just like, dude, you're fucking you're fucking growing so fast. It's awesome. Keep up the good fucking work.
Yeah.
And I mean, but yeah, there's no hiding any secret techniques, and especially in this day and age where everything is so information is so readily available. It's not like back in the old school days of like saddle making and where you couldn't just pick up like a how-to guide, or you couldn't just like look it up on Google. You had to be taught it. Mm-hmm. And now, I mean, there's very few secrets out there, and if there are secrets, they're like no one fucking knows about them.
Yeah, right. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten into leather crafting if I hadn't been able to watch videos on YouTube and see the books that I did going to the library and finding the few selection of leather crafting books in there.
And leather crafting books are like now like there's so many books out there now. So
Yeah.
many.
I mean, there's still one that I saw at the very beginning that I've yet to buy just due to the fact that I'm a penny pincher and don't want to spend the money, but it's like $30 and I'll have a reference for like God knows how many projects, and it could be really useful. But at the same time, I can go to the library and check it out if I want to. So
Yeah. So let's talk about since we're talking about kind of like that direction, let's talk about what you're aspiring to get to. Like, what are your plans for the future?
plans for the future. I did mention like at the beginning that I want to, like I'm doing like collars and cuffs right now. I also want to make larger versions of those for fursuit, like as fursuit
Yeah.
accessories. I also want to get into doing like harnesses as well for that I mean harnesses are very big in like the pup community, and I guess even to an extent the I can't remember the name of the community. It's like the horse version of that. They have their own they
Pony.
have their own rigs, and those terrify me with how intricate they can be. Um, I don't think I'd ever be able to do them, but I can definitely appreciate them. But I want to expand into doing the harnesses and such because the response that I've gotten with the collars and cuffs on the more on the intricate like detailing, with like the stamp work, the engraving, the punch work, that I want to be able to create other items that can be more casual yet still be something that someone can take pride in and enjoy.
Almost make it
And
a fashion accessory.
yeah, it
Yeah.
becomes a fashion accessory. Yeah.
You should check
Uh,
out who is it? Harness by Harpy.
Harness by Harpy.
I'll send you her stuff.
Okay.
She's this like phenomenal. She's a model. She's a maker, and she has these really beautiful like harness wear. Granted, she's using more fabric and harness your harpy. Thank you, Deb. Harness your harpy. She almost takes that like it rides that border of being kinkwear, but fashionable. So definitely check it out. You might like find some inspiration for that.
Sounds
through
good.
Harness your harpy. She's on Instagram. I'll definitely send that to you. But
Yeah,
no,
please do so.
like that's a very limited market too. Well, like let me rephrase that. That's a very untapped market.
Yes.
Very untapped, especially if you want to, and with you having connections with the furry community and stuff, like that's an avenue you can definitely take and explore. So like I think that's a fucking cool direction to go, man.
Yeah, I mean that's all again why I partially why I went into making the cuffs and collars in the way that I do it. Thank you, Deb, for that link, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
I'll have to check that out here in a little bit. Looking on there, a lot of excellent leather workers, but there wasn't anything that really was more on the ornate side. I mean, everything's sturdy. You could probably swing from the trees with them if you wanted to, because
Yeah.
they're built really well. And there's nothing wrong with that, and I would hope that you can do that with mine as well. I hope I make them that sturdy. But the more personal flair was, like you could choose your colors, you could choose spikes, studs, rivets, and that's great. I some of the minimalist pieces that I've made have ended up being my favorites because of just how clean they turned out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn. But for the people who want something a bit more eccentric and eclectic, there's a gap. And despite how many pages of like search results I would go through, yeah, there's some, but it's a very small market, and so it just became a matter of why not tap into it? Because
Yeah.
I get to pull out a bit of my own personal like artistic flair and bring it out to everyone else as well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like you've seen on mine, I've started doing more carving portraits. Like, yeah, it's just for me, it's just like it's a lot of fun. I mean, it allows me to really practice carving a lot, and I find that like I could probably just do like I could easily just frame these up and sell them, and I would be happy with that. Like rather than trying to like do like an armor piece or something like that. For me, I've been really enjoying doing the portraits, and I really, I haven't really there. I mean, there are people out there that do it, but it's very far few between that are just doing just straight leather carving portraits.
Yeah, I know Peepers dabbled a little bit in that. I think he still is. Last I saw, he was doing some kind of like, I think it was like a Japanese inspired
Mm-hmm.
piece, and it was looking great when he was working on it. So I don't know if it ever like came to fruition. I hope it did, but he was doing a little bit there. The only time you really see like framed work, framed illustrative work on leather, it's like it's old school Western.
Yeah,
It's a lot of like
it's
nature imagery and that kind of
the
stuff.
it's
Um,
the pictorial carving is what that
pictorial carving.
yeah, pictorial carving. Those are very those aren't uh, used very much anymore because they were popular back in the 60s, late 60s to early 80s, the heyday of Al Stolman,
Yeah.
essentially, because he was a renowned carver. He primarily worked doing pictorial carvings and Western carvings, and but I mean it was this fad and kind of dropped off, and now there's like this open area, especially for someone like me who's in the furry community, who's in uh, the conventions and stuff like that. There's definitely an open little bit of a market for it if I wanted to choose to go that route. And I've actually been thinking about doing taking like wood like raw wood pieces and having it like because I started doing dinosaur skull carvings.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, I do remember you've done some of them. I've seen
and
that.
what I thought about doing, because there's certain leathers that have that kind of like graining that looks very kind of Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex skin kind of look. And I've thought about like doing like cutting them out in a shape of like, what if a dinosaur, if you had cut the hide of a dinosaur and putting a portrait over the top of that.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
Yeah, like that's a big project. It's an idea that I just haven't committed to it yet because that's expensive.
It really is. And it's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, the materials you spend 60, 100, maybe 200, depending on what size and quality of leather you're getting.
Yep.
And then you got to figure, like, when it comes to pricing, it can be tough because it's like, okay, how much of this material have I used? How much time has gone in there? Who's gonna spend $500 on this piece that there's cheaply made like commercial pieces for like
Yeah,
$30?
and those pieces for me would probably be a little bit more far and few between because of it's going to take a very specific buyer for those.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bad mood can probably attest to this. It's kind of like armor. Like it's very you can have you armor build a bunch of armor sets, but like it's very harder to sell armor than it is to sell a bracer
Oh yeah.
because it's very much like you have to sell it to the right person almost.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same way with the collars and,
Yeah,
the pieces that I do. I was at this back in March before everything. It was the
before
last
everything
FurryCon.
went tits up.
Um, before everything went head over heels. Texas Furry Fiesta is basically home con for me. I've been going it for the past 8 years. This last time was the first time I've actually worked the con
Mhm.
and worked in the artist alley. Um, I mean, there were plenty of people who came by, saw the pieces, complimented my work, and were like, "I don't have the money right now," or "I like this is great, but I wanted it. Like this isn't like if I was into like this color, this would
Mhm.
be perfect." And it's very particular on the person. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I like doing the more stylized pieces because yeah, you can like a piece and be like, oh, this is nice. It'd be great for just to have. But then you see something that you can see that the maker has put a lot of work and
Mhm.
it's special.
Yeah,
You
and
see it from across the room and you just know that you got to go over there and look at it.
and that in its being eye catchers, something that's going to catch the eye, and once they approach, and you're like, okay, this is what I have available right now, and if they're like, oh, if it was in this color, you can be like, I can do custom
Vision.
commission. And granted, commission work is like it very much hit or miss. Very like
Yeah.
tossing out those business cards like they're candy, you know. But like sometimes you can get some amazing work from that.
Yeah, I actually sometimes the commissions that I've gotten so far, some of them have opened up my mind to ideas that either I had been wanting to try out previously, or it never really clicked that, oh hey, I can do this. I actually recently finished a collar commission actually for a friend of mine. They wanted an engraved uh, collar,
Mhm.
but also wanted to include some sewn accents to it. And this is the freaking results. I
Oh yeah.
am in I am in freaking love with this piece, and I like a little part of me is like, you don't get to have it, I get to keep it because I love it so much.
Yeah.
But
That's how I feel about my has been hotel carvings. Like those aren't for sale. Like granted, they
yeah,
wouldn't be for sale because those were just practice pieces, and I don't sell anything that's not like artwork that I paid for or got permission for. Like any like the Lego sheet carving that I did
yeah,
by Trash Bambi, like that one's staying with me forever. I mean, I had actually offered it up to them. Was like, hey, if you want this, it's your artwork. I'll send it to you. Like, there's no cost or anything like that. I mean, I just loved their artwork so much that I did it. Like,
yeah.
but nothing. And I was like, shit, I'm gonna frame it and keep it at my house. This is mine now.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're gonna be like practicing with other people's work, I mean, not only it's like it doesn't feel right to sell their own work again,
yeah,
but to be like, hey, I made this. This is technically yours, but do you want it?
yeah. Like for
It,
me,
it
it's like your artwork inspired me to do this, and I just
mm,
interpreted it through my own skills. So like, if you want it, I mean, if Trash Bambi ever wants that piece, it's theirs.
yeah.
So next thing, because that actually kind of segues really nicely into this inspiration. What inspires you? What kind of motivate like what avenues and artists have motivated or inspired you to do the things you do?
Um, I hate to say it, I can't really pinpoint like any like particular artists.
Mm-hmm.
Because like especially within the furry community and such, there's so many that
It's like okay.
I've pulled influence from. Um, actually, I think their Twitter handle is Kindred7. They are trans Native American person. I can't remember like what they've
Their
I guess
pronouns are.
yeah, well, I think they're he, him, I believe. I could be wrong, and I apologize if I am. But they do a lot of very stylistic, geometric, um, sort of like a geometric, stylized, obviously Native American
Yeah.
inspired artwork, derived artwork, and it's definitely uh, has had an influence on my own work just by being able to see how they use these bold lines and colors and their way of using abstracting shapes and everything to get a perceived like shape or emotion out.
Mhm.
There are others when it comes to like personal tastes, just in general. I'm a huge sucker for bohemian and like traveling wanderer kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like being able to see the natural elegance that people are able to put out and or that you see like in the real world is it's awe-inspiring for myself.
Yeah.
um I don't it's it can be a thin I wouldn't even say it's really a thin line, because like I don't want to step over that line of appropriation, because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If anything, there are certain like visuals and designs and stuff that I'm trying to I've kind of I wouldn't say written off, but I try to steer clear of due to like having respect for the culture and
Exactly.
or not wanting to like have my work perceived in a light that it's not.
Yeah, there's a real big fine line between, taking inspiration and doing it respectfully versus appropriation.
Yeah.
You see, and it's it's just one of those things, artists have to be aware of when they're doing stuff, because, and of course, sometimes it's completely accidental, sometimes it's just blatant, just like, nope, I'm taking that. And I mean, it's just it is a fine line that we have to ride sometimes, because I grew up in Texas. I grew up in a very Hispanic heavy area, so for me, I do, like, I grew up with Dia de los Muertos, and having a very healthy respect for that event and that culture. And I'm absolutely fascinated by sugar skulls, and
Oh yeah.
like, I mean, they're just like the symmetry, the elegance, the colors, that respect for honoring your ancestors with the ofrenda. And I mean, but when you look at me, you don't people don't see that. They see the white guy, and it's, but I have to tread it lightly, because I want, I do have a very healthy respect for that part of Mexican culture. And it's just maintaining that respect without coming off as appropriating is,
Yes.
it is a fine line I have to ride. But when people talk to me, and when people like find out about my background, they're like, oh, I got it. Like, you were there. I made some of the best elotes anybody's ever had. For
Nolo still raves about them.
I mean, like, you have Matt, like at Working Man's Custom, like, he was like, all right, let's see what you got, because he's also a big foodie, and he grew up in El Paso. He's got a very strong Mexican heritage, and when he tried it, he was like, these are fucking good. I'm like, but like that was part of my upbringing. Like essentially, what the culture that influenced me as a person growing up. I was very heavily influenced by Mexican culture. So like it's but say you take somebody from and I mean no offense to this, but like take someone from Wisconsin who just all of a sudden is like, oh, I'm gonna cash in on sugar skulls. That's appropriation. But
Especially if they haven't done the research and the like studying up on the topic itself.
the
You can't
history
just go,
of it
yeah.
and stuff like that. I mean, because like
You can't just jump into it and expect to like get good results. You need to figure out like what this stuff means.
yeah
Especially like right now in the furry community, there's a big push on paying respect to cultures, and it's excellent. There's like take like again Native Americans. There's been a big pushback on misusing and misrepresenting the regalia, like the headdresses and such,
yeah
because that's not casual wear.
no
You don't get to wear that unless you've earned it. And these people who just decide, oh, I'm gonna do it for my character because they're supposed to be this, and they don't like pay respect to the community itself, like to that community, it's like you've gone and just slapped them in the face. You can't do that.
no I mean and like you have to pay the proper respect, and you have to know you and like as someone who is not a part of that community where you can't step, like especially Native American headdresses. Those are used for ceremonial purposes. Those are used for big like rituals of their community, their respected communities, and like to just go, oh, I'm just going to throw this on there because that's what the character is supposed to have. I mean, there is a line that you just you don't touch that.
Yeah, it's a learning process. I mean,
Yeah.
people make mistakes, but I mean, they also learn.
Yeah.
And being able to hear directly from those communities of like, hey, this is what's okay, isn't, here's why. It makes it. I don't really know how to say that. I guess it makes it nice being
And-
able to learn this stuff.
And also, taking what they're saying and being like, okay, and adjusting accordingly, not trying to fight it and being like, no, I'm just gonna do it. Being like, oh, I am so, I get it. Guide me on what direction I should actually go.
Yeah.
Like what can I do to respect your culture, respect your heritage, highlight it, showcase it, bring and a lot of it is like just doing research and asking questions, like finding out hey, like what is this about, like sugar skulls, for example, like what's the history of those, like what brought them to being. And a lot of Day of the Dead stuff is like from those ancient civilizations that Mexicans came from, the Aztecs, the Maya, and the history of it.
Yeah. And like I early on in like my trying to figure out designs and inspirations and stuff, I came across the like how African cultures tend to have their, I think certain ones or all certain ones use I think it's kente cloth, kente cloth. I'm butchering the pronunciation. I apologize. But it's the brightly colored geometric like the brightly colored like geometric like clothing that
Yeah.
like you like getting like that you get that mental image and you know what it looks like. I found out from a friend of mine who is like they study these things, and they're in they're in the POC community, that those clothing tell stories, like the patterns and the colors and the shapes and everything it's meant to actually to tell a story of their culture.
Yeah.
So, and it made me take a moment and realize maybe I shouldn't touch this because this is not my place to this isn't my place to work with it. Like I can have inspirations, but I shouldn't be taking these patterns and replicating them of all
Ju-
things
basically,
collar
cop,
cuffs.
basically
That's
copy and pasting. Yeah.
yeah, you don't copy. Yeah, I mean, there's copying pasting, and then there's also putting it onto pieces that could end up being in a negative light. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to put those patterns and such on bondage gear. That's
Yeah.
that's a big no-no.
That's a, you know, yeah. That is a very strong definitive line.
Like I said, I mean, some like there can be fine lines, but then there's the big bold lines. If you don't touch that,
Mm-hmm.
that is not your place to mess with it.
Yeah. So that actually kind of like goes well with the next kind of question. What are some of the hurdles you've come across that you've had to overcome as a leatherworker and as an artist?
Um, coming to hurdles and obstacles. Here I am coming on a blank, and I'm the one that suggested that question. I'm pretty sure, like back in the beginning.
Probably, probably
Um,
when I was asking for them.
right? Um, definitely when it comes to actually like creating the initial like designs, um, measurements, especially when it comes to pieces that are supposed to wrap around body parts and and or layered leather itself. Figuring out like how long you need a strap, say for like this is a collar that I'm working on right now. Um, like figuring out how long does like this back strap is 18 inches, say. How long is this top strap going to need to be to overlay the way accordingly to buckle itself over, while one not staying too tight on on the back strap, but also having enough room to display the imagery wanted on the strap itself and to fit the person.
Yeah.
Because like I was basing my original like when I was first starting off like making my first collar, um I had a like a previous piece from another maker and was roughly basing my sketch design my initial concept work from theirs to try and figure out how they built it. And it's like, okay, this strap is this long, this strap is that long, where's the placement on these pieces? There's especially for what I do in my process, there's a lot of like math that goes into this
Yeah.
into the work. And that was not what I was expecting originally. Um and like I got to this point where I finally got to a point where I felt happy enough that I had a decent enough sized like I guess you'd call it like canvas to inscribe the the designs and such on there while still keeping structural integrity.
Yeah.
Um, the cuffs, I had serious issue with trying to figure out, okay, the placement of rivets, the placement of the buckle, the D-rings, the everything else. I probably went through like five different templates that I've made and tweaking them, like adding a half inch there, taking off a quarter inch here,
Mhm.
and it's finally at a point that I'm happy with, at least for the time being. Uh, and it's like I go into like that's one of the things that's keeping me from the harnesses so far, in that I have to figure out, okay, where's the buckle placement versus the the artwork. I don't want to
Mm.
put all the buckles in the front and then have all the artwork be very like back prominent, or vice versa, all the buckles in the back and art forward prominent, and then losing the feasibility of wearing the piece due to it being difficult to put on and off, take on and off.
Mm.
Um, when it comes to making pieces for fursuits. Um, Having a buckle on a piece on a collar that you're wearing just like on the neck is fine, but wearing fursuits, um, I mean, people have heat strokes and heat exhaustion
Yeah.
by wearing full suits just as is.
Yep.
If I'm adding a collar that's buckled on there and they need to get out of that suit, that they need to take their head off like immediately, they can't be fiddling with this. I have to figure out a way to troubleshoot
Something.
that and substitute for something else that's easy to replace, because I mean, not only is a lawsuit a possible reason, but it's also just like a personal like ethics reason,
Yeah.
reason of I don't want to be the cause of someone being harmed
Or
from my
yeah.
own work, because I would never be able to live that down.
Yeah. And for something like that, you can easily do like, you know,
The clip buckles.
you can do you can do the clip buckles. You could also do a mock buckle, like what Kate just said, with Velcro. Or if you want to maintain the leatherwork side and kind of take like line 20 snaps or line 24 snaps, have them look like big rivets, but they're realistically a just an emergency. You know, you just pull on those guys real quick, they pop off.
Yeah. Which
Uh,
I have thought about that. It's just more of testing it out first.
Yeah, just test it. You just gotta get your hands dirty and test it out. Because I know
So,
people
yeah.
with fur heads that have a cooling system inside the fur heads, which is
Every
fucking
person that I know that
awesome.
it's insane the amount of, especially now, the amount of tech that and innovation that goes into making those suits, let alone the heads. People, I mean, there are makers now that are playing with animatronics to get it where like the eyes, like the eyelids will open and close, or they'll have like the like little LED screens for the eyes, and have it like hooked up to the Raspberry Pi to where it looks like it makes the eyes look like they're looking this way and that.
Yep.
There are others that are making like the ears posable to where like you puppeteer it with like your fingers, and the ears will like fold down or up and
Yep.
back, swivel back. It's insane the amount of like innovation going into that. Like fans themselves were early on one of the bigger um like upgrades that people started doing, because those things get hot. Every single friend of mine that has a full suit, even a partial, you come out of those things looking like you just stepped out of a pool.
Yeah.
You are sopping with sweat. You are hot. You are miserable, but you just had the time of your life.
Yeah. Like, you know, just it's what's that? No beauty without pain.
Yeah.
Philosophy. That is very true when wearing fursuits. Like, you know, especially in like, you know, hot conventions, or like, you know, outside events, here, especially in Texas or like places like that where it's like stupid hot and humid. Like you get
Yeah, it's like 100, I think, today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it's kind of funny because I actually got asked the other day by one of my coworkers, like, what do you think the leather industry is going to be in 50 years? And I started thinking about it. I was like, that's a really cool question, because the thing with leather is the base process itself, like tanning the cow and stuff like that. Like, you know, I don't think that's really going to change. I think there might be some more like maybe eco-friendly options down the road.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're seeing down in Mexico, there are tanneries that are experimenting and working with cactus, with prickly pear, to make leather out of cactus. And I'm really excited to see where that goes, because I'd love to get my hands on some and play with it. So, and for the most part, I definitely see like the hardware side changing. Like, absolutely, I definitely see like the hardware is going to change according to fashionable or fads of the time period. And then of course you're going to get like the hardware that's never going to go out of style, especially with like saddle makers. Like there's always going to be equestrian wear is always going to kind of run. It's very much one of those things like it's not broke, you don't fix it.
Yeah, so like the D rings, the buckles,
Yeah.
the keepers and stuff, like all that, like especially if it's like solid steel or stainless or no stainless steel or solid brass. Sorry,
Yeah.
that stuff isn't going to change. There will be evolutions of their styles,
Yeah, absolutely.
but like you said, like the system, the process of making the leather itself most likely won't change. There will be developments of new variants, like you said, making leather out of cactus, or like vegan leather, which is, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but hey, I'm intrigued. I want to see what happens.
And doing so the thing is with vegan leather, like the true concept of vegan leather, which isn't using like animal parts,
Yeah.
without using a synthetic product. That's what I'm interested in. Like the cactus, using using something that that doesn't need to be synthetic, because I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, yes, absolutely, the livestock and cattle industry, especially in big places like Brazil and stuff, or in Texas. Yes, cattle are definitely like cattle raising is definitely a environmental issue, especially with the amount of methane that cattle produce. But synthetics like vinyl and plastics and stuff like that, that is just as harmful to the
The
environment.
pollution and the materials
Yeah.
itself,
And
chemicals.
especially when you think about like with leather, if you were to toss that into the ground and come back like 20 to 30 years, it would not be the same. It would because the tanning process, that is a way to prevent decomposition. That it is a way of preserving that item. But most if you don't take care of it, like using conditioners and stuff like that, it's still an organic material that will eventually
Break
start
down.
to break down and decompose. And that's why if you look at a lot of ancient civilizations or earlier civilizations like Vikings, Romans, Egyptians, like you don't see much in the way of leather artifacts because they broke down.
Yeah.
Ooh, shit! Almost took a tumble there. But like, that's the thing about leather; it will eventually break down, compared to plastics and vinyls and stuff, which will take hundreds of years, if more, to even remotely start to break down. So I'm very interested to see where the vegan leather will go if they're using organic materials.
Yeah. And at some point, it probably is. Well, I say probably. Hopefully, it would take off and have a good enough quality product that I don't ever believe it would ever replace it,
No, I don't think it ever will.
but it could at least give it would give a solid option for makers and crafters and even just clients themselves to choose between, do I want this to be made out of real leather or do I want it made out of plant material?
A true organic vegan material.
Yeah.
And when I say organic, I mean like not a synthetic material.
I think also when it comes to like where you see the industry going in 50 years, the end products are going to change immensely as well.
Oh yeah.
You'll always have the people that those of us who want to make armor or do like wallets and stuff like your normal like accessories and or
The style might change, but
the style will change, but the base product will
base
stay.
layer is going to be the same. Yeah, like bags and stuff like that. And though it's going to be interesting to see like new accessories come up depending on fashion and fads that are going
And
to
technology, yeah.
And technology, yeah. Because we're going to more likely we're probably going to see like we do in the fur community where people are utilizing technology to take their suits and stuff to the next level. We're going to see that with leatherworking, and I know like I've had this debate a lot. Utilizing certain technologies in leatherworking like lasers, using lasers in leatherworking, because you have those folks that are the hardcore traditionalists that are like lasers are not that's not doing leatherwork. What's up, Mars and JD, and thank you for the host, Peaches. I did see that. And yes, the Kate is here. But you have those traditionalists, and I've seen these. I've been in these conversations of like is utilizing a laser leatherworking. Yes, absolutely. I believe that just because you're utilizing technology doesn't make you less of a leather crafter.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just a different way of doing it. That's all it is.
It's just another tool.
It's just another tool. It's just another avenue to do it. I mean, me personally, I hate using sewing machines. I hate using them. But I mean, does like me hating sewing machines make me think that people that use sewing machines are less of a leather worker? Hell no. No, that's just a different way of doing it. I just don't like you doing it.
Like especially when it comes to like the like laser cutting and laser engraving for the leather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a better way to I guess to make on bulk your products. Like you're just like a single maker, and someone comes up to you, like, hey, can you do wholesale on this item? Well, you make the item in a program to where it cuts out the blank templates and programs them into a laser cutter. Just put a whole hide, half of a hide or whatever you need in the laser printer, and you need 50 keychains. Hour later, there's your 50 keychains. Do what you want with them. Personally, I've thought about using it for the more like smaller stuff that would be just repeat like templates versus like going in and doing the personalized tool work.
Yeah.
But like for like keychains or like little charms and that kind of stuff, it has its own aesthetic as well. Like you have to take it. Like I have to take into effect like when it comes to doing the punch work,
Mm-hmm.
the tools will give out a completely different result from the laser, because you're burning away the leather versus versus cutting it with a physical tool.
I mean, someone who's a great example of doing like not only like more like she does laser work. I mean, but she also does like tooling and stamping and stuff. Soulbound is a great example. Like she will, like when she's doing a custom knife for like a custom sheath for a knife, she will take those measurements of the knife and go into her program and create the appropriate size sheath and have it cut out on the on the machine, but she'll go in and she will do the carving, she will do the stamping and the cut and she's a great example of taking utilizing technology but still maintaining that sense of a little bit of that more traditional style of leatherwork. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like for me, I hate fucking skiving. I hate hand skiving. Do you realize how much like I will give my left leg for a fucking cowboy bell skiver so I don't have to. Like there's certain things I'm just like, yeah, I will refuse to use a sewing machine and hand sew everything, but as soon as you say, oh, you got to skive this down, nope.
Well, and that also kind of pulls into like the people who gatekeep, like, oh, I don't like laser cutting's not leather crafting and stuff. When sewing machines started being able to take on the process versus hand stitching, I mean, I could probably bet money that there are those like whoever uses sewing machines on leather is not an actual leather worker, and it's like it's just to speed up the process. It's another tool to create a new item.
Yeah, you're just utilizing technology. You're just utilizing technology to make your job easier and more efficient. That's what machines are. They're just a way to become more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, I would absolutely use a laser if I had the room and the money to get a laser. Yes, I would absolutely use it for certain things, like my like cutting out my the dice trays. Just cut them out real quick, boom.
Yeah, just do like basic shapes for items that don't really need too much work other than like making it personal or intricate and such. I mean, go to town, then get the templates easy, and then take your time working on the piece, because that way it's not taking nearly as long for you. You can give technically a better product.
You can give a better product. You can also offer it at a better price, because I'm not having to take instead I can just like I can have like 12 dice trays cut out and put very, very little effort into it, and while the machine is doing that, I can go work on something else, rather than taking like the hour that maybe, I mean, granted, I've gotten really fast at cutting things out, like the hour that it might take for me to cut a bend, like cut all my pieces out of a bend.
Yeah, like when it comes to the collars and such, when it comes to sewing the like the lined leather on there, the liner leather. I mean, each of these cuffs, it took me an hour to sew. Granted, if I had a proper stitching pony, I could probably go a little bit faster.
We need to get you.
I have my
stitching pony, dude.
Right. I need to.
Someone help Big Cat out and get him a stitching pony.
I'm still looking at them. I'm trying to figure out which one I want. But like it might take me an hour to do that by hand, but on a sewing machine, I could probably whip that through in roughly 20 minutes. Yeah. I've never actually used one either, so I wouldn't know how quick it speeds it up, but it would at least cut the time in half. I mean, doing collars, that's easily 2.5 hours depending on how thick the leather is, how big the collar is.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could shorten that down to even 40 minutes, that's a lot of time to get back to be able to work on other pieces.
Yeah. But then for me, like, I don't like using a sewing machine because I'm pretty fast at hand sewing. Like you've seen me hand sew. I'm pretty fucking quick. But
yeah, I'm jealous.
I mean, like, I'm totally game for whenever this COVID stuff is all said and done. Like getting a bunch of leatherworkers together and just having a hand sewing competition. Totally fucking game for that.
Going in last place.
Get Bjorn, you, Bad Mood, myself, like the people that are like heavy duty hand sewers. Just like let's see who takes the crown.
Drag packs up across the Pacific.
Yeah. But I mean, but for me, like, it's just that's my preferred way of doing it. Number one, like, I feel like I produce a much better product. Like, me personally, I produce a much better product hand sewing it versus me doing it on a machine, because I'm
I
not
can
comfortable
definitely
on a
relate to
machine.
that.
Like, and for me, I also, like, I do think that, longevity wise, my hand sewn, my saddle stitched sewn products are going to last longer than a machine sewn lock stitch product.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, and I enjoy hand sewing. I fucking love to hand sew.
Yeah,
Like, just
it
throw
can be
something on and
therapeutic.
just go.
It
And
can be absolutely therapeutic.
I actually was terrified to hand sew while on stream. I was actually, when I first started streaming, I was like, I can't hand sew on stream. I like, I'll just like, it's gonna be boring. No one's gonna want to want to watch me just hand sew something. And actually, my hand sewing streams are some of my most popular ones because I'm very engaged. Because I can look away and engage a lot easier when I'm hand sewing.
Definitely can second that because I mean, like you said, you're doing a process that becomes just kind of muscle memory, and you can interact with the people who are watching and hanging out with you a lot better.
And depending on how the project, like, you can look away. Like,
Yeah.
you just look at the chat for a little bit and chat and stuff.
Going back on the topic of like obstacles and such, but also bringing in the stream itself, um, keeping myself actually doing like finishing a piece is a big obstacle for myself because I am
Yes.
absolutely terrible about procrastination. If I don't have a reason to do something, I will take all fucking day. And it's like I feel terrible about it, but at the same time, and I want to change that, but at the same time, if I don't have a reason to, it doesn't happen, unfortunately. So
Mo-
like the stream itself is a tool for me to keep on my work and actually create the pieces that I'm supposed to.
yeah. Motivation is
Hmm.
is definitely probably, at least for me, is definitely something of a hurdle that it's so random when it happens. Like, it's definitely for me one of the hardest hurdles is maintaining motivation. Like, for me, streaming, like, recently it's been hard to stay motivated to maintain my schedules and stuff. Life happens, and of course, like, with all this COVID stuff and my job, like, it like what I was doing, the customer service stuff, it was like I was so mentally drained that I couldn't get myself motivated to want to stream. I
Same
mean,
here.
and there were a couple of times where I just had to step away for a bit, and or, like, in some instances, like, I would get home and be like, okay, I got an hour before streaming, eat something, watch a little bit of TV, and then hop on stream. Passed out on the couch. Next thing I know, it's
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the couch, lights are on, fully dressed, and I'm just like, fuck. Just, like, so
Yeah.
mentally drained, I just pass out.
It's a way to keep a schedule and keep on top of yourself. When it like I use the stream, like I said, to keep myself from procrastinating, because it gives me a purpose in that while I enjoy being able to share my work, it's also the eyes over the shoulder, making sure that, hey, are you doing your job like you're supposed to?
So a
Um,
way of keeping yourself kind of self accountable.
yeah, it's like if I'm working on a piece on stream, I'm much more motivated to work on it and get it done versus off camera and just taking my time as I want to and constantly checking my phone because oh, I'll get this I have all day today, I have all day tomorrow, I can get it done later. I'll scroll my feed right now. Whereas if I'm on stream, it might be one, two people, it might be just JD or Mars hanging out in my chat, but I have people watching, and I don't want to just sit there do nothing and possibly disappoint them because I'm just wasting my own time. I need to give a show and actually do what I'm supposed to.
And be engaging, demonstrate, show them what you're doing, show the progress of completing the piece and stuff. Yeah, no, like that's something like when people ask me for advice, I'll be like, just finish. Even if you're not happy with it, just finish the piece.
Absolutely. There's been a good handful of times that like I finish a piece and I'm like, this could have been better. I'm not really keen on the colors, but like I can still appreciate it to an extent and know that while it may not be my personal taste, someone else might enjoy it. Especially like, I mean, especially with it being personalized, everything is special. Someone might be like, oh, I haven't seen anything like this before, because people don't usually do that, and so they gain an interest in it because it's unique.
Yep. Sometimes it's like it's the exact opposite too. Sometimes like you'll do something that's just like you put like no effort into, no effort at all. You're just like just toss it out there and be like, I did this. It's okay. I mean, it's not my greatest work. And then all of a sudden people are like, that's the fucking shit. And you're like, this is garbage.
But then everyone else that sees it are like, oh my god.
What?
It's big on the in the visual artists community as well. Like they'll put like
yes
numerous hours into a piece, post it up, and it gets a little bit of action and such, but then they throw up some 20-minute like bullshit sketch because they're just like, fuck it, I want to fucking have fun with this and just do a little doodle, and it blows up even more so, and it's like, why the hell do I do this?
That's it.
My life.
That's Angel for me. Like, I will bring this up every single fucking time if I can. Like, that fucking Angel Dust carving has the most likes of any of my pieces, any of my posts, and I'm like, I did this on a scrap piece. I did this on a scrap piece of leather. It took me 30 minutes, and like I did it for shits and giggles. And I look at pieces that I did. I look at pieces that I put like hours into, and like really put myself into the piece, and like maybe like 30-40 likes, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? It's the imposter syndrome was strong.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's a moment of like, especially with like social media and stuff, it can get disheartening.
Very.
That like I said, you or like both of us have said, you put your all into a piece and it barely gets any traction, but then you throw up something stupid and it blows up, and it's like, again, why do I do this? Because it also depends on the community that you've drawn in. Because being in the furry community, cuffs and collars, and to an extent some sketchbooks, are very prominently, ooh, I want that. They're a hot topic. But then you put up like I put up like a bracelet or a sketchbook that's not quite into that scene, and I've put a lot of hard work and such into it, and yet it doesn't really gain any traction. It's just because the people watching me aren't there for that. I mean, they'll still comment, and they'll still get comments, they'll still get likes, but it won't gain nearly as much.
Yeah.
But it's something that it's a give and take. You gotta feel for what the community wants, but at the same time, as an artist, you've got to reach a point that you're not what's the word I'm going for?
You're not pigeonholing.
You're not you're not pigeonholing yourself. You're not just serving your viewers, but serving yourself.
Catering, good word choice.
Cater, yes.
Good word choice.
And that's kind of what I do. I use my my inventory pieces for like conventions and such to play around with, in that the inventory pieces are the ones that I try to experiment and play with, in that I can do what I want, see how it turns out, whether it gains traction. If it doesn't, what could I tweak to make it better?
Yeah.
If it gained the traction that I wanted, what were the reasons why it did so, and trying to figure that out. Like a lot of people, when you first start out, when it comes to like doing a small business, because I mean that's technically
Yeah.
what this is now. It's still a side gig that gets me income. It's technically my main source of income currently due to COVID. But it's a matter of like being an artist is not just, especially if you're selling your work, it's not the entire job.
It,
You got to
yeah.
learn how to market yourself as well, because if like, you can do amazing work, but if you don't know how to get your stuff out there and make connections with people who can help like boost your stuff
Utilizing social
and or boost
media
them, yeah,
and yeah, and that's
joining
it.
communities,
Yeah.
it's like you got to figure out the complexities, the
And that's some
conception of the market.
and that's actually interesting, because I've this is a conversation I've had with so many people,
Mhm.
and I've kind of narrowed it down to this, like, if you have to determine, like, okay, am I going to be a artist that has just this kind of side business? I'm just going to do what I want, and if it makes a little money, okay, fine. Or are you going to be a business, and while trying to incorporate art? Because those two, like, those two directions are really going to kind of determine, like, what your what direction you go.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're trying to be a business, you have to observe the you have to observe what your clientele wants, and especially if you're in a niche market like like furries, you have to kind of observe what they're wanting, what their needs are, or you know whatever I'm trying to say on that point. But the idea is, like, what you're trying to cater to, as Peaches
Yeah.
put it. That's when you have to buckle down and be like, okay, I may not like doing this may be boring, or this may not be like my best work, but this is what people are looking for. While if you go the artist direction, you can do whatever you want. Doesn't necessarily, and you can. There are plenty of artists out there that have, people just love what they do,
Yep.
and just want to support what they do. And but the thing is, that is a very, very small percentage of artists. Most artists, they do it because of the love of it. They do it because they're like, no, I'm just doing it to do it. And some of them will be able to do a little bit of business with it, but it's majority of them, I would hazard to say, it's not their full-time thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, I want to go full-time artist, and it's really like seeing like friends do that. It's really, really difficult. You've got to be able to have your base large enough that you have that interest. You can't just jump into it and expect the money to roll in. The same thing goes with like streaming and
Yeah.
such. You can't just turn on day one and expect hundreds of viewers to pop in, because
You gotta build it
you
up.
haven't built that credit.
Hmm.
You haven't built that credibility. You haven't built that community. You are just another Joe Schmo on the block who is trying to show what he's got. So make the best of it that you can. In that, like, people, like, when it comes to starting out, just share what you're working on. When I first started doing leather crafting, I mean, most of my pictures and stuff that I would post on social media was like just work in progress. Like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's a quick shot of this bracelet I'm doing. Because like for the first 3/4 of a year of me doing leatherworking, granted, I started collecting my tools and materials about 5 years back, but I've only actually been working with leather for maybe the past 2.5, 3, just because of how long it took due to my income.
Yeah.
I cannot recommend people enough to be like, if you want to go this route, like make sure you are secure and like monetarily secure before you make that jump, because if you slip, that
It's
ends up spiraling because
yeah,
oh, you messed up. Now you have to go back to your job. You have that mental failure of I tried to do what I wanted and I can't do this anymore. I messed up. I about lost my home, about lost my friends, whatever it is that you end up like messing up, and you go back and it just spirals. Always make sure that you've got some kind of safety net,
yeah,
like as best as possible. Um, for the longest time before COVID happened, I had a part-time day job, doing valet trash pickup at some complexes. It ain't fun. I was literally a trash cat,
Y-
but or furry trash, if you will. Um, but it paid enough that I could do leatherworking as a hobby and or as a side income.
yeah,
It gave me the stability that I needed to be able to invest time into my work.
yeah,
Um, but when it starts out, it's like you've got to keep it in your mind that when you're first starting out, you're not going to get the viewers. You're not going to get a whole bunch of viewers. There's maybe like two or three. That
yeah,
first hurdle of getting to affiliate on Twitch is a struggle, not because of the follows that you get, because usually if you end up in a good community, you'll get those followers pretty quick.
yeah,
It's more getting those people who will come back and gain interest in your work. It's all about the like, how you showcase your work,
yeah,
um, how it's made, and
yeah.
I'm
And
like scatterbrained with all these reasons.
no,
I
you're
apologize.
no, you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, for me, I was lucky. I was lucky. I made affiliate within 9 days.
Yeah.
But I was also, people already knew who I was
Hmm.
because of
You
being
had that
on.
base.
I had that base of being on Bad Mood Stream. Like people, I just like popped in one day because I was living with her, and then all of a sudden, like people recognized who I was. They were like, "Oh, it's Cowboy. Hey, how's it going?" I had my first like big supporter was fucking Chainmail. Chainmail was
Yeah.
my first subscriber ever. Whenever I hit
We all
affiliate,
love chainmail.
yeah, Chainmail is like he's kind of like Peaches. Like everybody knows who Chainmail is. Everybody knows who Peaches is. Even though like does Chainmail? I don't think Chainmail streams. I think he's just like somebody who comes in the chat.
I
Right?
think he's done it maybe like that I can remember. He's maybe done it like less than a handful of times. Like
Yeah.
there's it's very far and few that he comes on.
Yeah. And I mean, then you got like people like Peaches, who has his own basically a fan base because of how awesome he is in chat and how he interacts with everybody. The notorious fucking Peaches, the alpha peach man. But like, I mean, it's for me, I was lucky. I mean, I was lucky. I had people who wanted to see me stream because I was apparently entertaining on Bad Mood streams, and I started I started streaming and I hit affiliate within 9 days, which was fucking like I was like, oh shit, all
That's
right,
quick.
cool, that's fucking quick, and
Especially since like it like by the requirements of affiliate, it technically takes 7 days.
yeah,
So like the fact that you got it 2 days after that initial week, that's pretty fucking good.
yeah, I mean, so like it was really like it was really really awesome to see the support that I got from it. But like for someone who's just like if they came in and were like, I've never streamed before, never been on a stream before, it's going to take work because you have to develop those, you have to develop what your stream is going to be and what you're going to do on your stream, like something that's like unique to you almost, don't be afraid to be like, I really like how they like this, how Big Cat did this on his stream. I'm going to kind of incorporate it into mine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, that's not a bad thing when you're first streaming. It's like, in fact, like a lot of streamers will be like, no, fucking try doing it this way.
Yeah,
Because
I mean there are systems, there are formulas of what works and what doesn't. And the same thing goes with like social media and everything. It's like, okay, what works if like the people who are big now, they had to start out somewhere. So what worked for them and how can I implement that into my own work? Like when it comes to like Bad Mood and them, uh, originally when I first started out with my stream, I didn't have a overlay on my work that looked really good. I spent hours working on getting the backgrounds looking decent, but the overlay just still kind of looked kind of choppy. I didn't really have like a slideshow or a face cam or anything like that. But seeing other makers working and like how interactive people are with streamers who have their faces shown, or like when it comes to makers having a slideshow that shows off their previous work. They may not be doing something that's super interesting currently on the stream, but you can see what they've done in the past and interact with them about like, hey, what all went into that piece there, like what systems worked, what don't.
yeah.
It's always a work in progress.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of you have probably seen my stream change, like the layout of my stream and stuff. Like, I mean, I actually sat down one day and I just started watching streamers. I just started looking at how they had their setups, and I started looking at it, and I was like, and a lot of maker streamers, which works for them. I'm not saying bad things about it at all, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, I'm looking at them like, for me, a lot of them were very, very busy. There was a lot going on, and I was like, I don't want that for my stream. Like, I was like, I definitely wanted to keep it a little bit more minimalistic to maintain the focus on what's on the table. Like, that's the direction I wanted to go. I didn't want any kind of crazy overlays or backgrounds or like effects going on, because I was like, that's just not me. Like, I like keeping things a little bit more on the minimal, like as far as showcase, like flair and stuff. I wanted to keep it kind of minimalistic, and I'm still gonna be like, I actually have an idea for a overlay that is going to be minimalistic but very much me. I just have to like, that's something I have to invest in, because I can't do the digital artwork myself. So like, I'm like, my actually, who did my logo for the podcast, I'm gonna have her do it, because she's done overlays, and once I'm always gonna be tweaking it, of course. Like, you should always be tweaking.
Always tweaking, making sure things work that are keeping up to date, and or just make it look cleaner, nicer, and such. Same thing. Like, initially, I was just doing the camera down on my own work. You got to keep your obviously, you got to keep your space clean just for like the work itself.
Yeah.
But like you said, you don't want it too busy, in that it ends up that people are being distracted more by the overlays and the other stuff going on the stream versus what you're working on, because then it just becomes way too much.
Yeah.
In that people can't really stay focused.
I mean, if you look at how I have the podcast screen set up, like I kept it like, I'll as this grows and stuff, I'll kind of maybe invest in little like nice borders for the cameras, and like maybe take some time to get better like names and stuff for guests. But for the most part, I wanted to keep it very, very simple. I wanted to keep it two face cameras. I wanted to have our logos on there, and just like the name of the podcast. And I kept the little subscriber bar thingy up there because, like, I want to, when people are watching this on YouTube and be like, oh my God, there's my name. Like, or it's something something little silly like that for the folks that support us.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, this is going to change. This is going to change at some point whenever I figure out a way of, I like this better.
Yeah, like how you display yourself definitely plays into that. Some people do work better with the, I guess they're it usually works out better for like the gaming streams than it does for makers and crafting, in that the more like busy kind of like layouts tend to be more popular.
Yeah.
But when you are creating something like doing like visual, like whether it be traditional or digital art or leather crafting or sewing or what have you, for
model painting,
artistry,
yeah,
you want to be able to have the focus be on the main project itself. Personally, when it comes to my own streams, and it also plays a part in being able to keep myself from getting distracted and keeping on the job. I like to try and, like, when it comes to the music, I try to keep it calm, relaxing, something I can have going on in the background, but still staying focused on the work. If I'm chit chatting with people in the if I'm chit chatting in a chat, I don't want to have to be fighting the music for lyrics and such. So it usually tends to be just like like smooth jazz or something, or progressive, like indie folk rock or something.
I completely get that. Like I used to have I still have it. I have a playlist from subscribers. Like, whenever you first subscribe, you could throw 2 songs into the playlist. I still have that, but I stopped playing it during stream because I wanted folks to be able to, like, if there's a clip, I didn't want that clip to get its sound taken away because of copyright infringement.
Yeah.
Or when someone goes to rewatch a stream because they missed it, but they really wanted to catch it, there's not going to be moments where it's just dead air because they took away the sound.
Yeah.
And I actually started using Harris Heller's Stream Beats playlist, which is a very kind of lo-fi, real chill playlist, and it's completely copyright free. Well, I mean, it has his copyright, but he specifically made it for streamers so that way they didn't get hit with copyright infringements, and had sound taken off of like some really cool scenes or clips that they were like, oh my God, I had this really awesome thing happen on stream, and the clip has no sound because of the music. So I decided to do that because I started it with the podcast, because I wanted to be able to put this podcast on YouTube eventually, whenever I figure out how the fuck to work YouTube.
That, and it also kind of plays into the atmosphere of the stream. It's like, some people, like I said, some people like those high octane, like active streams. Things are going on constantly, but I mean, I just want to kind of hang out while I work. It's nice having the viewers and everything. It's nice having the discussions, but I want it to be a relaxing setting for anyone to come in and just kind of just chill out, listen to music, have random discussions about nonsense. And it's definitely had an effect on people, in that I've had people comment and be like, hey, like, take Coco for an instance. She apparently will tune in onto my stream, say hi, and then 20 minutes later falls asleep because of like the music and just the atmosphere that I have on my stream, that it's calming enough that she can like just fall asleep to it.
Yeah.
Which, it's like, I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Because I can definitely appreciate it. It's a chance to hang out with others, but just kind of exist.
Yeah.
And
And
Zone out.
for me, like I was talking with Kate about this. Um, some of my best streams are when I'm talking to somebody, like when I have a back and forth, because when it's just me, and like sometimes the chat's not active, and like I get quiet, y'all. Like I may be a very very talkative person when I have like a back and forth with especially like with Kate, with a guest on the podcast. I can talk all fucking day, y'all. But when it's just me and I'm interacting with chat, especially when the chat's quiet, I feel like I'm boring. I feel like I am so boring. And I mean, that's just me in my head. But I'm starting to be like, a lot of people, like, they like coming to my stream for, I was talking with Kate about this, for the interaction that I have with Kate, that I have with my guests.
Yeah.
And like that's just that's my strength, is talking to people, and it being entertaining. And when it comes to Kate and me, it's just like fucking full blown, like y'all want to see some weird crazy ass shit. We're about to say some off the wall shit that make you go, oh, what the fuck?
And fish facts you may have never known about sea anemones.
Like let's get you want to see some shit, let's get Kate talking about snakeheads or tilapia, and like just
Amazon reviews, I remember those.
Oh, the Amazon, the fucking the dildo Amazon reviews. Like I mean, but that's our thing. And like it's funny because like Kate was sending me stuff about like how she was doing her Makeup Monday streams, and I was like, here is my reach when it was just by myself. And I was like, that's a pretty impressive fucking reach. I mean, granted, it's Facebook, it's a different kind of algorithm, and we can
different community and such.
Yeah, we can only wish to have that kind of viewership on Twitch, but it's just a different algorithm. It's just a different way of it's handled. But she showed me those numbers, and I was like, oh, those are impressive fucking numbers. And then she's like, this is our numbers when I have you on. And I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we had that many people see us? Like, I got a little self-aware. I was like, I said some pretty fucked up shit. Like, that's a lot of people that probably heard that. And I'm just like, but like when she showed me that, it made me realize, I was like, that's just who I am. That's who I am as a streamer. That's something that I'm gonna be gearing up to. And like Kate and I are both like, damn, we're fucking stuck with each other, because like I miss having her on stream. She misses being on stream. She misses having me on her stream, and so like we're just fucking stuck together. It's like if one of us is streaming, the other one is not far behind.
Very true.
But that's just our stream. That's just like the way I like my stream is going to be successful, is because that's what people love. That's what people love about our stream. And so like I'm fine with that, and honestly I have a lot of fun with it. So like that's just the direction I'm going to go.
Yeah, and I mean, and when people go and ask, like I have it one of those timers set up in chat where it's like, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And people start asking questions, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for like taking up your time. You're so busy." And it's like, no. Please ask those questions.
Yeah.
Please like chat, because it gives me it gives me something to do while I'm working. It doesn't get monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
It makes hand sewing go a lot faster when you're talking to people about random stuff. But like being able to interact with the viewers and have them ask questions of like, what is the process that you're doing right now? What's the what are you using to burnish the edges here? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? It's like, it's a learning experience for them, and it can also be kind of like a personal enlightenment, in that it's like you start talking about a topic and someone brings up a point and that you didn't think about before, and it's a moment of like, maybe I should try that next time.
Yeah.
There have been a few times where I would be in the middle of a process of some step on making a collar or something, and someone chimes up with like a suggestion, and it's an epiphany moment, light bulb moment, and I'm like, huh, maybe I should try that next time. And I try it next time, and either it works or it doesn't, or
Yeah.
it almost works, and you tweak the suggestion, and you get results no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, and like it's just a matter of like for like whenever you get those little epiphany moments or like maybe I should and if it works, awesome. That's something you have now to your arsenal. If it doesn't work or you're just like I really don't like doing it that way, no big deal. You tried something new, and who knows, you might have actually learned something about doing that you're like, no, I'm going to do it this way instead. But you wouldn't have thought about that process if you hadn't tried this suggestion.
That or just speaking out loud as well, because sometimes you have it in your mind that like I'm doing it this way, but then you start like describing it and you start realizing maybe I should try something else. Like when it comes to like using the burnishing as an example, used to I would dye it, burnish it, and then seal it before and then the further steps. I've found that dyeing the leather and then sealing it and then putting them on the Resolene before I go in and burnish it, I end up with a better like smoother edge than just straight up just dyed leather. And then once I go and add the antiquing, I add another clear coat on top of that, and it seals it nicely and it gives a nice clean edge.
Yeah, I mean, I say all the freaking time on my streams. Like, you ask 5 leather workers one question, you're gonna get 12 answers because everybody's gonna have 2, and some people are gonna have 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many different ways to go about doing it. Or like, you know, with burnishing is a great example for me. I'll dye, I'll seal, and then I'll bevel. What I'll actually do is I'll slightly sand the edges, especially for like wallets and stuff. Like I'll sand the edges a little bit. Then I'll bevel my edge, burnish, and then edge coat, and that's how I do my things. So
I need to get better at sanding.
I use a burnishing machine. Like
I've
just
got,
use that sanding wheel, fucking.
Yeah, I've got like a tabletop like it's one of those Harbor Freight ones where it's the yellow one with the sanding wheel, and then there's the pumice wheel as well. And
Yeah.
I've started using the stone sander side for like sanding edges, especially for when it comes to sketchbooks. They give excellent edges on that. I'm needing to start doing it on collars and cuffs and cleaning them up that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you know, finding the way that works best gives you the best result. That is the like if I were to like be like, you know, when you're working on stuff, any kind of advice, it's like, you know, you're always going to learn from mistakes, and just find what works. Find what works best for you and gives you the best result. You know, don't take anything as like written in stone, because it's not.
Yeah, and like you said, you ask 5 leather workers how to get through a task, and they'll give you like 12 answers. Sometimes someone will come in and be like, hey, why don't you do it this way? And I'll be like, this is why. Or they might suggest an idea and be like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with doing that, but there is some merit still to it.
Yeah.
That like I might not do the entire process, but I might attempt to work it into my own technique.
Yeah, or like, you know, be like, you know, I'm not gonna do, you know, that's a great suggestion, but I won't do it for this project. I might try it on the next one, see how it works, or I might just take a scrap piece and see if I like the process or, you know, technique, and you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you know, no big deal.
Yeah.
So, like, we're kind of approaching the end, so
Right.
I would like to, if anybody has any questions for us, specifically for Big Cat.
I know Peaches had a couple.
Peaches, I did see one, and he just posted again. Peaches brought up one that we actually liked when I was on the podcast with Peaches. We actually talked about at length, and I'd love to hear your input on it too. Peaches says people often say crafters are too critical of their work. How do y'all feel about this?
I can definitely relate to that. It having a husband that does visual art as well, I see it in his own work as well. That what like he's really critical on his stuff. Um, it's the reason being is that we have like say for like collars like this guy right here. You can make a small nick on something and everyone will be like, no one will ever see it, no one will ever see it. But it's like you have gone through this technique over and over and over again, and just making that small little slip where like the edge has like just a teeny little divot that honestly really isn't noticeable. You know it's there because you made it.
Yeah.
And it can, especially in like some people's like mindsets and personalities, how they think about how their thought processes, it can really wear someone down. um
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that way. I used to be super hard on myself. Luckily I've gotten to a point where I can make a mistake and either be like, okay, well shit, I just messed this up, I gotta start over again. At least I can consider it practice and just work with it. Or if it's a certain mistake that I can be like, okay, I can still work with this. Let's see how I can work around it and problem solve it. It's a process. It's an absolute process. Working in the food industry also kind of doubled down on that situation, in that you're working for a business who is serving product which is always changing.
Yeah.
The next shipment of avocados may be very underripe. So how are you going to fix that on the fly when you have 5 orders coming in on the machine?
Mm-hmm.
Or for some reason you didn't get enough flour to make those to make to make like flatbread dough. How are you going to what are you going to do to make what you have already go further? In that the recipe may call for you to measure out 6 ounces of dough per order. Do you know how to work with 5.5, that those extra like half ounces cut off can be used further on to make just like a few extra until that next order comes in?
Yeah.
To where, yes, you're technically changing the recipe. Yes, you are technically not giving the the patron, the customer, the client exactly what you usually do. What can you do to mitigate the problem and still have it come out just as good as everything else?
And
In that, like keeping your like a personal standard, especially when it comes to working in the food industry, keeping a personal standard higher than the restaurant's expectations is really good at that. Because
yeah.
if you have your own personal standards that your managers are like, oh my gosh, you always put out such good work, the moment that you mess up, they're not going to see a difference because you still meet their expectations.
Yeah, and like, you know, holding yourself to a high standard, that's just, that is absolutely that's a work ethic thing. Holding
Hmm.
yourself to those high standards. But and that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a
No.
bad thing, because like, I do hold myself to, like, when I'm making stuff or if I'm working somewhere, I hold myself to a high standard. Um, it is a fine line though between holding yourself to a high standard and being like overly critical perfectionist. And I know I've struggled with it in the past.
I have as well.
It just, especially with projects that like high intensity projects, I've, if I make a mistake, I'm just like, ugh, it's just like crippling, self doubt and just like wanting to just go crawl into a corner and cry. But it's you gotta it's you gotta accept mistakes are okay.
Yeah, because
Mistakes are okay, and
it's gonna happen.
it's gonna happen. And I'm a big, especially for folks that are just starting out, and hey pot meet kettle, kind of deal. I tell people all the time, like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. In fact, I encourage you to make mistakes, because those mistakes are going to teach you so much.
They absolutely will.
Compared to what I can. I can tell you how to do it till the cows come home, but you make that mistake yourself, you are going to see it. You are going to remember that mistake.
Yeah, and it's going to stay with you, and the next time that problem comes up, either how to fix it or how to circumnavigate it. Yeah, or to avoid it. Like, the week before last, I was making a collar, and let me grab it. It was the strap for that collar that I showed you. This guy right here.
Yeah.
I was literally about to start putting the hardware on, went to fold over to put the buckles on, and realized I had left out 1/2 inch of leather and 2 rivet holes.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, there's like the tail is like 1/2 inch too short. It's all about the like what qualifies as a major like mistake versus a minor mistake. Like, you have to be able to figure out
can you
get those mental hurdles to get
not?
over. Oh, I made this small nick versus I just cut out an entire strap that's not going to be usable. Due to the fact that I had missed those 1/2 inch and 2 rivet holes, I can't use this for a collar anymore. Because those 2 holes in that 1/2 inch were what attached this strap to the back strap. So this is now going to be a really fancy sketchbook strap at some point.
Hey, but the thing is, you're not just going to toss it away, because you can use it. Yeah.
And that's another thing that's something you have to start like kind of working on when it comes to being a leather worker, if someone ever comes into the craft. Like you said, mistakes are going to happen. Definitely do encourage them, because then you know how to navigate them later on. You also should learn how to repurpose those mistakes as well in some certain way. This strap here, I can't use it for its intended purpose, but with a little bit of fiddling, I could use it in another project.
You can use it for, I mean, the only limit to it is your imagination to repurpose it.
Yep. And the same thing kind of goes with people who repurpose belts or bags and that kind of stuff and turn them into other items, or like jackets and everything, and they turn them into different items. There are people out there who take Louis Vuitton bags and turn them into like infants, like binky accessories and stuff for like their babies, because they want to have their child decked out in Prada.
Or like, I've seen one that someone took a Louis Vuitton bag and used it for inlay work in a pistol holster.
Yeah.
Bougie ass pistol holster.
Because like, I'm absolutely a perfectionist, and if things don't turn out the way I want them to, it's a hit. But I know it's gonna happen, especially with leatherworking. You gotta like double check your measurements every single time. I messed up on that strap, and I learned for it because of it as well.
Measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, measure 5 times if need be.
Yep. Louis Vuitton pistol holder. Don't give them ideas.
Right. Hey, Loopy. I
um,
know Peaches asked earlier just for like tool wise, asking where a good place to get punchwork tools to start out with. The three main tools that I have, which are I don't know if the cameras will show it up, give it visuals. It's a heart, fishtail, and teardrop shape. This trio set I got either from Joann's or Michael's. I can't remember. It's one of their like tiny little leather working section. They had them in like a tube on one of the shelves. It was like 25 bucks for the trio set. Um, Looking anywhere online, that's uh that's pretty much all you can find. I
yeah.
was kind of lucky in that I was able to find like a 28 piece set on Amazon from some shady Chinese listing that doesn't exist anymore like a month after I bought them, so I can't even go back and reorder or leave a review. It's gone.
It's
I
out.
lucked out and found it. And so it expanded the tools on there. I wish they would like makers like tool makers would come out with proper tools
Yeah.
because sooner or later they're going to wear down. They're definitely not the same quality, which kind of bums me out.
Yeah, and like, you know, I actually I ended up scoring a old Tandy punch set that had the shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
think I do remember that. It was like it had this like one stem and interchangeable heads.
yeah, like this guy right here. Like I ended up
Yeah.
scoring it. It has like the triangle, the flower, star, moon, diamond, and heart.
Hmm.
Um, like it, like I just happen to get that. But the thing is, whenever those punches wear out, I'll never be able to find them.
Yeah. And I have seen those tools from Springfield. I have thought about it at the time I was working with my food industry uh rates, and so couldn't afford to spend like 30 like 3 to 5 bucks on a tool
Mm-hmm.
and have it be like 30 tools. So I went for the cheaper option. They've held out so far. I'll give them that. They're definitely not the best, but they're not the worst in the world either.
Yeah.
So they do the job.
Yeah, I mean, just remember, y'all, tools are a big investment when it comes to leatherworking. Like, you're gonna spend quite a bit on tools, especially if you go down the rabbit hole very far. Especially if you're into carving and tooling. Like, my setup is like definitely growing. Ooh, Loopy's got a big one for us. Are there any sort of mediums slash crafts that you all would like to do that you've not had the opportunity to do so? Whether it's just trying to experience out at a place that lets you. Sorry, I completely butchered that, or actually something to pick up learning and creating things, woodworking, blacksmithing, metalworking, stuff like that. I'll let you go first on that. So basically, are there any mediums or crafts that you've wanted to try out?
Yeah, actually, I after working with leather for so long, for as long as I have so far, and wanting to delve a bit into the into like chessboard making, um, I want to experiment a little bit with woodworking. Um, just kind of like with leatherwork, it's a lot of structure, a lot of it's a lot of it is the same process. It's just a different medium. There are definitely more like fine tuning steps to it, but I think it would be a good learning experience and a good way to experiment with ideas that I couldn't that are limited by just using leather. My husband went to college for going for metal sculpture work, And so he like when he finally gets to the point where he's able to start doing that stuff, I want to be able to help out and learn that as well, because like going a bit more into like background, into my own personal background, most all of my career choices in life have one way or another revolved around design. And so it's a matter of like whether it be roller coaster designing or architecture or photography or set design for theater or leatherworking
Mhm.
or culinary. Like they all have their way to for you to show off one's passion, one's inner like ability to design, their creativity, their art, or their artistry in ways that other people can perceive it. And
Yeah.
so it's just it's another way to bring out ideas that I have in my mind that normally I wouldn't be able to show off.
For me, like I anybody that knows me well knows that I hate being stagnant, and I absolutely love learning new crafts, new skills, and it's part of the reason why I never went to college. Like I actually chose not to go to college, even though like my parents wanted me to and stuff, because I couldn't pick a major. I couldn't decide. Like I was like I can't do it. I can't go to 4 years of schooling to learn something, and all of a sudden at the end be like no I don't. It's boring. I don't want to do it. Like I couldn't decide on what I wanted to do, what I wanted to
Terrifying.
commit to, and that's actually why I ended up going to culinary school, because it was a year long, and I was like, I've always been in the restaurant industry. I love being in the restaurant industry, and I was like, oh, go be a chef. Uh, and but like I always tinkered with different things. Like I actually was a prop builder and a set designer for a little bit. I've done woodworking. I haven't done metalworking yet, or blacksmithing. So that would probably be one that I'd be interested in doing. Um, but like I like doing things with my hands, so like that's my biggest worry about like committing to like full-time leatherworking is becoming stagnant. But the cool thing about leatherworking is there's so many different avenues that it's really hard to get stagnant. um,
Unless you pigeonhole yourself into one like specific like space.
yeah, which if I'm doing like a business and like hey, this is like supporting me, okay, I'll stick with that. But like the artist side of me, the creator side of me is going to be like, okay, I'm going to stick with this, but in my free time I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to see like practice this. And I've actually done stuff that aren't my thing, like floral carvings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not my style. I'm not a Sheridan carver. I'm not really into the Western carving style, but I forced myself to learn it and forced myself to get proficient at it, because I realize there are techniques and things that I can use from that style and incorporate it into my own. Because I started doing a lot of skull work, and I started incorporating a lot of floral and vegetation into my skull work. I realized, oh, my floral looks like crap. Like the skull looks awesome, and then you have this just it's not bad. It's not great.
But it's not to the same level of quality as you would like it to be, as
Like
with like the skulls and such.
yeah, like you have a high quality skull, and then it looks like it's not that I didn't half-ass the floral work. It's just my skills were like they looked half-assed. So I actually forced myself to learn floral and Sheridan carving, so that way I can improve my skull work. And like you know I'm like, for me that is a loaded question, because like I want to I love learning new things. um, So yes, there is the absolute potential for me to learn new things. But what Peaches says, new hobbies are scary. They're expensive.
And then it becomes a moment of like, especially when you're starting out, you see all these machines and it's like, oh, that looks so good. I need that. I need this. I need that. And then you look at the prices and it's like, that's too much money.
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to leatherworking, like all these really expensive machines out there are really nice to have, but don't let that scare you away
Hmm.
because like 100 years ago they didn't have those tools. Like leatherworking is one of the oldest crafts out there, and everyone had their process back then as they do now, even without those expensive like $200 $300 like
Presses and stuff
table
like.
cranks and
Yep.
such. Like there are processes, they take a little bit longer time and they can end up being a bit more difficult depending on what it is. But I mean, it gives you a much larger appreciation for the craft and what people go through and figure out, hey, do I actually need this tool?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, like we said earlier, there's like so many different ways to accomplish the same thing. So even though you see like this badass, super expensive machine that can do it really, really fast, doesn't mean you have to buy that machine. You could just go. You could just go get like the hand tool for it, and there you go. Fucking
Each is,
beaches.
do I need this tool? Yes. Always
Always
yes.
yes. But alrighty, y'all. So I just want to say thank you so much, Big Cat, for spending a couple of hours with me and answering these questions, having some really awesome talks with you. I definitely really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you had fun and like you enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely
Um,
did. Thank you so much for having me here.
so um, before we call it a day, uh, where are some places people can find you? What are your social medias?
Social media. Obviously, I said at the beginning, I'm here on Twitch under Big Cat Den Crafts. Don't worry about butchering it. Everyone does that. I know. Even when I first started out, like trying to figure out a name for the business, I do the same thing. I even still do it now. It's a mouthful and a half. Uh, but like BCDC, they're like there's a reason why people like now call me Big Cat on here versus like trying to do the whole thing. So you can find me here on Twitch at Big Cat Den Crafts. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Oh,
You're on Instagram as Big Cat Den Crafts.
yeah, I'm on Instagram as Big Cat Den Crafts as well. Twitter, I am on there as Big Cat. I think I am Big Cat Den Crafts there too. I think yeah, it's the main social media. I'm under Big Cat Den Crafts. Let me pull this up just to double check. Yes, Twitter and Instagram under Big Cat Den Crafts. You can find me across multiple like furry art platforms as Big Cat Den. Um, that was just at the beginning. I considered that to be kind of a way to kind of differentiate like the furry part of it because at the time I was really concerned about like, oh, I have my mother following me on Instagram and she shares all my stuff with her Christian friends and bless her heart, I'm making kink gear. It's like how do I differentiate this so they don't end up getting scarred for life versus the
Right.
people who see this stuff as casual items. So like when it comes to like furry profiles and such, I'm Big Cat Den. When it comes to Twitter and Instagram, Big Cat Den Crafts.
Yep. All right. And if someone wanted to buy one of your lovely items, how would they get a hold of you?
I mainly go by email, so bigcatdencrafts@gmail.com. I also take like pre-made like request, well, not requests. If I'm posting up pre-made items online, currently it's just through Twitter, and possibly my Fair Affinity, my FA, just because I don't really use Instagram for posting anymore. Like I've tried, and
Social media is a bitch, man.
social media is a bitch in that like posting from my computer is different from posting from my phone. If Instagram was allowed you to post things from your computer, I'd use it like anything else.
Yeah.
But when I'm on my phone, I'm not thinking business.
Fair.
But when it comes to being like, hey, you have this item for sale, can I buy it? Twitter DMs, email. When it comes to doing like custom order, like an actual like custom orders, I'm doing that by order applications now. So whenever the next time I open up for custom orders, which will probably be at the end of August, looking at how things are going currently, um, I'll be posting on Twitter for like, here's the application, put in your information, and I'll get back to you whether you made it or not, and we'll go from there.
And be sure to follow Big Cat on all his platforms. If you enjoyed this podcast and you are new to us, be sure to hit the follow button. You'll catch us every Sunday with new guests. I'm hoping to have Bjorn on next Sunday. I've been trying to get a hold of him. I didn't realize he was out of town, so I actually had bad mood message him. Because I was like, I want to get Bjorn on. He was interested.
Absolutely.
So, hopefully, I'll get Bjorn on. If not, I will. I'll probably convince Bad Mood to be on. But either Bjorn or Bad Mood will be on for next week. Same time, 2 p.m. Central, 12 Pacific. So thanks everybody for coming out and joining us. And we will see you again next time. So for those of you that are sticking around for a little bit, we are actually going to go raid Tay-Sauce. I've been meaning to go check his stuff out, so we're going to go support him as he is streaming now. So again, thank you all very much for coming and joining, asking questions, and again, thank you, Big Cat, for being on and spending some time with us. So,
thank you for hosting it. It was a pleasure.
Happy to do it. So let's go take a look at what Sauce is working on, and y'all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Bye, y'all.
Take it easy.